Welcome to From the Mind of Christine McConnell. Today's episode is going to be a little bit unique as far as, we're typically making something from nothing in these episodes, and in this one we're actually going to be arranging something, and that is going to be my vanity. I feel like it is so important to make the spaces you inhabit really special, and it took me a long time to figure out you really have to be creating these yourself. So the thing that's so, wonderful about today's episode is all of the pieces that I'm going to be using, you can usually source locally. They're not terribly complicated to find, and it's really about the arrangement. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I've enjoyed making it. Finding a really great vanity is the first step of this process, and it can take a while. This one in particular I love. I found, and it was a little too short, so I actually had to affix some legs to it to get it to a height that worked for me. So don't be surprised if you do find like your dream vanity and still have to adjust it in some way. The mirror you use to get ready is also pretty important. And the one I have here is something called a Zadro mirror. It's very pretty, but its one big drawback is that you can't change the color of the light that comes out. It's a very like blue fluorescent color, which isn't pretty to look at, but the truth is it does show everything. It kind of, it's a mirror that will hurt your feelings, but it's better to see that, while you're getting made up. Because if you can look good in this mirror, you're going to look good in most other lighting situations. I'm going to be changing the color of this mirror, and so that is why I am taping up the actual mirror itself, just to ensure that what I'm about to do doesn't get on the surface that I need to use. This next tip is amazing. It's so fantastic, and it's how to gild something that has already a shiny reflective surface and make it look gold instead of a silver or a pewter or something like that. And I'm doing it here with this Mohawk spray. Now, I actually discovered this when I took some of my pieces to, his name was Tim Cullen of Canal Metalsmiths in Rochester, New York. And he showed me this technique of, you just spray a very thin coat of this on a reflective metal surface and it instantly tints it gold. Now you do want to be a little bit sparing because if you go heavy, it starts to go kind of rose gold. So we're going to be applying a very thin coat to this vanity mirror. And it is as simple as that to completely just transform something very quickly into something that looks really warm and inviting. My next step is to frost some glass pieces that I'm going to be using later on in the episode. Now I'm going to be doing some floral arranging. I've done floral arranging in the past and I will be doing it again in the future just because it is so incredibly fun, and these little arrangements really make a massive difference in transforming a space that you're decorating. I like to start any floral arrangement with slices of this floral foam, and I like doing it in slices just because it lets you fit in just about as much as you possibly can into whatever cavity it is that you're working with. I always like starting with all of my greens first, and that kind of helps me build up a little bit of a body and shape, and that way you hopefully don't overdo some of the floral elements. Another tip I've shared before is I like to shave away any bulk off the ends of the stems, and that way you don't sort of crowd the vase that you're working with, and it allows you to add as much as you like. Now we are going to tackle the lighting setup for this whole area. I'm using something called I call them flame torch lamps that go over like any kind of a light fixture that has obviously something that you can set it on. You can buy these online, just the actual torch fixture. They make them still, they're from the past obviously, but the reproduction ones are not terribly expensive, and they tend to be less expensive than the antique ones. Now, if you want a finished light fixture with these torch shades on them, they are so expensive, and you can, look them up and see what I'm talking about. But if you find these pieces and you put them together yourself, they are less than a fraction of one of those other lighting fixtures. I went to the Syracuse Antiques Exchange. This is a 4 or 5 story antiques building in Syracuse, New York. I have a friend there named Matt Pastor, and he helped me find all of these pieces to do this. So let's begin that process. I found this twin set of floor lamps on Amazon, and I spray painted them gold. And now I've got this, it's like a chandelier fixture that I got at the Syracuse Antiques Exchange. And I'm using a 2-part epoxy to affix one of those newer flame shades onto this. That way it rests really naturally on top of the floor lamps and is very secure. To make sure it doesn't slide around at all, I'm hot gluing these little rubber nubs onto the bottom, and that way it literally just sets right in and locks into place. To make this look extra fancy, I'm attaching a bunch of crystal prisms all around the bottom. For this next part, you're going to want to have 2 twin stands, and it can be a little tricky to find a matching pair, but a matching pair is pretty important just because we're going to be putting lights on these, and you want them to rest at exactly the same height on both sides. Now let's talk about one of the best things in this whole episode. It's called a Martha Washington sewing cabinet or a Martha Washington desk. You can find these everywhere. They're in virtually every antique store you go into. And if you put 2 of them on each side of your vanity, they are so amazing because they will hold hairspray, hairbrushes, cosmetics, all sorts of things that you use to get ready. And if you line them up right, it kind of flows with any kind of antique vanity, and it just looks so expensive and beautiful. And like I said, they are not hard to find. So if you take anything away from this episode, make it these cabinets. Go out and find yourself some. The two I found, one matched the vanity perfectly, and the other one off to the left is a little darker. I thought this was going to be an issue, but when it was all finished, it kind of just blended in. That said, if I do spot another desk that looks like it'll match this exactly, I will pick that up and then just swap this one out. I have all of these lamps plugged into this 10-prong extension adapter, and the reason I'm doing that is I want all of them to plug into one outlet, and I'm going to use an Amazon Alexa plug on this, and the reason I want to do that is I can verbally tell my vanity to turn on and off all at once, which is just going to be so nice. With some of these light fixtures, you might have to get a little creative like I'm doing right here. Several of the bases that I want these shades to go on just don't fit the shade. And so how I'm going to sort of work around that is I'm creating this wire band around the base, and then I can place it right onto the fixture and then just work those wires in to secure it. This isn't the ideal, but it is kind of an inexpensive workaround. So now I'm going to line these drawers. Now I should preface this by saying I really don't like lining drawers. It's just like not a fun project for me. I love washing dishes. I love vacuuming, ironing. I really just don't, I don't like wrapping presents, and I don't like doing this. So I tend to be a little bit messy with this. And if you are too, I can give you kind of a helpful tip here, is if you tend not to cut the pieces perfectly and you end up with gaps, if you use like a paper that has a really busy floral pattern, because of that, a small floral pattern, I should specify that, you can usually cut little extra strips and put some of the adhesive and fill those in, and you will not notice them. So you can do this perfectly if you're somebody who does that, but if you do make any mistakes, it's a really great workaround. A kind of quick and dirty way to do this is to take sort of a thin paper, put it down in the drawer, and just press it around in the corners really quickly, and that way you get the exact shape, and then you just lay that out on the paper you're using, and it's like an easy way to get an exact match. The paper I liked that I found at the craft store is actually for scrapbooking, so they didn't have rolls of it. So I'm just gonna have to use two separate pieces for the bigger drawers. I don't really mind this, and like I said, if the pattern is busy and floral and small, those seams will just kind of blend together and you will not even see them. For the life of me, I could not find my Mod Podge, which is what I was going to use to adhere these, and so I'm just using some wallpaper glue that I had. Is this going to come off easy later? Probably not, but I'll get it off one way or another. And in the meantime, I don't have to like make an extra trip to the store. What I'm doing now is affixing basically what is a hair tool holder to the inner side of this vanity. And the thing that is going to be so great about this is when you're working with your curling iron or blow dryer, you can just sort of put it in a holster and it's not taking up space or cluttering up the area ever. Now we're gonna kind of do a what's in my bag just with my whole vanity as I fill all of these drawers. I didn't prepare any of my products to be on camera before doing this, so some of them look a little bit messy. As you know, if you use any cosmetic of any kind, it looks beautiful the day you buy it, and then it starts looking really exciting. So with that said, let's get these drawers filled. For eyeshadow, I've really been loving this new palette by Hindash. It's got tons of really delicate pastel sort of colors. And then I also got these new Gemini palettes from Melt, and they have all sorts of really deep roses and greens, which have been super fun to play with. For my base, kind of natural, everyday sort of eyeshadows, I've started using this Natasha Denona brand, which I saw Trixie Mattel review and give her endorsement to, basically. And while the pigment isn't super strong, the application is really kind of creamy and super blendable. My very favorite makeup brushes these are by Melt, and they came out around Christmas, and they are so beautiful and fun to have out on the vanity. I'm gonna keep all of my, finer brushes up in the top drawer and then go with bulkier brushes down just below it. For skincare, I'm such a huge fan of this Elta MD SPF. I think it's 45 or something like that. It's so great for your face. It's not sticky at all, so I love that. And I started using Retin-A every day, and it's been wonderful. So those are two kind of beauty things that I absolutely have fallen in love with. So after years of using Maybelline Fit as my base foundation, I did finally find kind of a fancy one that I like. It's this Dior Backstage, and the reason I like it is it's so thin that you need just the tiniest little bit, and it gives all the coverage that I personally want. A concealer that I've been using that I really, really like is by Hourglass, and the main color I use is called Silk, and then to highlight, they have a color called Birch that I really, really like. I also really love this concealer by Kosas. A few months back, I saw Dita Von Teese post about using these Lashify eyelashes, and I was curious, so I got some, and oh my gosh, they're pricey, but they are so amazing. I'm not able to wear them with the application that they're intended. Like they're supposed to go underneath your lash, and I tried that, and it just made me, it made me feel bonkers. And so I cut each of the little pieces in half, and then just apply them to the top of my lashes just like I always used to. And they taper at the ends and they look really natural. One other thing that I've discovered that I absolutely love is this. It's by Kosas, and it's like a eyebrow groomer, and oh my gosh, it's amazing. The hairspray that I have been using for a number of years now and really love is by Chi, and it's called Royal Treatment. And these Martha Washington desks have the perfect little side pockets to store them in. As far as lipsticks go, nothing has really changed for me. I am eternally on the hunt for a dead old lady color, and so I get as many of those as I can, and I find myself just mixing and matching different colors. Turn on my vanity. All right, it's all finished and it looks so beautiful, or at least I think it does. The thing that is so wonderful about this setup is absolutely everything I use is right here at my fingertips, which, you know, obviously when you're getting made up, it's so nice to have everything organized in a really tidy way. Normally my vanity is kind of cluttered looking, so this is really exciting to have everything look beautiful, but also be incredibly functional. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to see me do more that kind of involve me arranging things and getting places sort of designed and set up, please let me know because it was very fun to do. So, but in the meantime, I hope you're all doing well. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again very soon.